Focus now to the statements that are being made, the stand that is being taken by US, Israel, Iran, and the strikes, the latest strikes that are taking place as well. The war in the Middle East is no longer only about violence and bloodshed. It has also become a war of rhetoric. One day, there are claims that the conflict could end soon. The next day, leaders on both sides warn that the war could drag on for the long haul. And when it comes to Donald Trump, there are a lot of flip-flops. Such contradictions are hardly surprising. Known for his mercurial style, Donald Trump has now hinted at an even bigger escalation. The US president once again claimed that Iran's Navy and Air Force have been decimated and Iranian leaders have been wiped out. In a strongly worded post, he went on to boast about the firepower and ammunition of the United States, while also saying that he has plenty of time in the war. However, Donald Trump is also claiming that Iran is ready to surrender. Now, this comes after Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, issued his first statement yesterday. And he remained defiant on the strategic Strait of Hormuz, also announced to keep it shut as the conflict continues. Let's in fact take you through the key highlights as far as that first statement from Mojtaba Khamenei, the new supreme leader of Iran, is concerned. Number one, Strait of Hormuz to remain shut. Number two, attacks on Gulf states to continue. Number three, Gulf states must state their stand. They must clear their stand. Number four, will avenge blood of martyrs. Number five, all regional US bases must shut down. Number six, America's claim of peace is a lie. So that's what Mojtaba Khamenei has to say. Meanwhile, amid speculation over the new Ayatollah's condition, Donald Trump earlier said that he believes Mojtaba is still alive in some form or another. Trump added that the new supreme leader is damaged but probably alive. The comments come after reports that Mojtaba was injured in the airstrike that killed his father, Ali Khamenei. Let's go across to the experts who are joining us on the broadcast. We have Colonel Rajiv Agarwal, foreign policy expert and senior research consultant at Chintan Research Foundation. We also have Prabhu Dayal, former diplomat, joining us on the broadcast. I want to first come to you, Colonel Agarwal. There are a lot of claims that are being made and flip-flops on part of Donald Trump continue. Donald Trump first, warned Iran again. In the latest fresh escalation, Donald Trump says that wait for what happens to you tonight. And then on a G7 call, Donald Trump says Iran is about to surrender. Whose version can one believe? Because the entire world is hoping for de-escalation to take place.
Thank you, Swati. And, there is nothing new in what Donald Trump is saying because he is known for the flip-flops. Even in a single sentence, he can have two contradictions going from one end of the spectrum to another. So there is nothing new in what Trump is saying. And there is definitely a sense that America wants an early end to war because all the things that they had prepared for, or in military terms, as you call combat stamina, that was there only for 4 to 5 days or up to 7 days. We are now on the 13th day, 2 weeks are going to be over. And that is why the campaign which was launched with an expectation that, the Iranian state will crumble under the ferocious airstrikes and missile strikes of US and Israel. That has not happened, and there's a sense of frustration as well as panic in the alliance of the US and Israel. But I'll just take a minute of yours to explain how this war is. It is what I have been saying since day one, a very, very clear example of an asymmetric war. So on one side, you had the most powerful military, technologically superior, most modern weapon system pitted against a nation which has hardly any air force or air defense or anything to defend itself. So when Trump says that he has taken out the entire air defense or the air force or navy, there was nothing much that was expected as resistance from Iran on these three aspects. The play was Iran's objective was to survive the onslaught and live for another day. For US and Israel, the military and political objective were complete obliteration of their military, of their political structure, and a hope that they will, instigate people to come out on the street and regime will surrender. So it has been a very asymmetric war, both in terms of... It has been asymmetric,
but Iran definitely has managed to surprise a lot of people. And Mr. Dayal, you've served in Iran, you understand that region better. Is it really that easy? And can one really go by what Donald Trump is saying? One does not know what kind of information he's privy to and, what is unfolding that only Donald Trump knows and is saying that Iran is about to surrender. Is it really that easy?
No, it is not. Trump says things and then contradicts himself. And even within the Trump administration, there are people speaking in different voices. So there is a lot of confusion which is coming out of the Trump administration. And while they may say that Iran is down on its knees and they have finished Iran's capacity to defend itself, the truth is quite different. Iran continues to attack the neighboring countries with missiles and drones, and the war is not yet over. And really speaking, I think even Trump has been surprised by Iran's ability to launch such counter-strikes. And the Strait of Hormuz remaining closed is itself a signal that even for the Trump administration, the Iranian capacity to pose a threat to maritime interests and to U.S. interests is far from over. So I don't think it's correct to think that the capacity of the Iranians to defend themselves has been wiped out. On the other hand, they are still well entrenched and are a strong fighting force, as the Americans are realizing.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, do stay on with us. Now, Mr. Dayal spoke about Strait of Hormuz. That's where the entire focus is. The entire world is watching whatever takes place, the developments happening at Strait of Hormuz very, very closely. And let's talk about how in terms of the attack, it's raining missiles and drone attacks and fuel continues to be on fire. But Donald Trump is busy contradicting himself. Remember, a couple of days back, he claimed that benefits of war outweigh the drawbacks of price hikes. He had claimed oil prices will fall very rapidly when the war is over. He also tried to suggest that war is good despite the pain at the pump. But now, according to the President of United States of America, high oil prices are good. They may be causing pain to the entire world, but they are good for America, as America makes a lot of money when prices go up. Here's what Donald Trump said. Let's break down that statement that has come in from Donald Trump. US is largest oil producer, and Donald Trump goes on to talk about how this is benefiting the entire situation, is benefiting United States of America. When oil goes up, Donald Trump says, we make a lot of money, but more keen on stopping an evil empire. So even though we are making more money, he says, we are keen on stopping an evil empire. Iran can't have nuclear weapons. Let's now tell you how the crude oil prices have fluctuated over the last 1 week. On the 9th of March, here's a graph for you. On the 9th of March, $114.3 per barrel. That was the price, which came down sharply. Significant drop on the 10th of March, $89.44 per barrel. And it remained pretty much there with $86.26 per barrel was the price on the 11th of March. Then there was a sharp spike. On the 12th of March, it was $100 per barrel. And then the latest, it has crossed the 100 mark. It's at $102 per barrel. So that's the fluctuation that you're witnessing. It all, it's all changing depending on the situation in Middle East and the statements that are coming in. Let's also tell you how attempts to cool down prices have failed. Number one, IEA members to release 400 million barrels, but that attempt seems to have failed. US eases Russian oil sanctions. Remember what US said, that they are giving these sanctions, they are allowing this temporary relief to purchase more Russian oil. That also seems to have failed. The attempts that are being made to control the oil prices seem to be failing. Let's go back to our guests who continue to be with us on the broadcast. Mr. Dayal, I want to come to you here. Is this, United States of America hitting Iran, and the only objective is to ensure that they do not get any sort of, nuclear weapons, that they can't acquire it anymore? Or is this also US indirectly hitting at China, US looking at the larger picture, given how heavily China is invested when it comes to Iran? I'm just talking about the entire region, how, the geopolitics there is changing.
Well, Donald Trump is a thoroughly confused person. At times, he says that the objective is to take out Iran's nuclear weapon capability. On other occasions, he speaks of regime change. He said that he wants a regime change and he wants a new government, etc. as far as the Israelis are concerned, they certainly want to make sure that Iran doesn't have the capacity to make nuclear weapons, because for them, such weapons would be an existentialist threat. Now, as regards China, China has not suffered much impact on account of this.
Yes.
China is well isolated, well protected. Of course, China was the biggest buyer of oil from Iran, but China has found other suppliers. And in this sort of a situation, it is the regional countries who are being impacted very severely, and a whole lot of other countries, including India, because our oil supplies are affected. And if you look at the larger picture, even Americans are very unhappy about this ongoing conflict, because there too, there are very, very definite price increases because of factors pertaining to this war. And whatever Trump may be saying, the fact is that his popularity within the United States is plummeting. And of course, his standing globally is going down.
Right.
America's standing is going down.
Absolutely. The cost of war, Colonel Agarwal, is something that everybody is paying. And most importantly, of course, those who are heavily reliant, like, countries like India, heavily reliant on Strait of Hormuz. Now, of course, India says that 70% of our imports are happening from non-Hormuz routes. So we've been able to diplomatically somehow balance this.
Yeah, Swati, I mean, this is a war where for the first time Iran has called out two bluffs that nobody thought it will do. So it has been able to close the Strait of Hormuz without physically closing it. It has never happened in the last 30 years, despite so many threats that Iran used to do. And the second bluff that Iran has called off is by striking all the military bases of US in the Gulf region. Never ever had it happened, and so America had never prepared for such a onslaught all around which is happening. So they thought that it will only be Israel which will be targeted. So this is a bluff that has been called out by Iran, and America has been seriously found unprepared for such an onslaught. As regards the oil prices and Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Hormuz is a lifeline which has got no parallel and no alternative.
Yes.
20% of the global oil supplies flow through it, 20 million barrels flow through it. So whether you release 400 million barrels of oil or you try and find alternate sources, this source cannot be replaced or alternatives found so soon. The second point is what I want to add to this Strait of Hormuz is that Houthis have announced yesterday that they would join the war in case it escalates. And we all would remember that Houthis had crossed the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandab during the last 2 years when the Gaza war was on, and no amount of American warships or the European Union warships could undo that. And so if Red Sea also closes, so all the alternate supply of oil that is taking place through the pipelines across Saudi Arabia or coming through the Mediterranean through the Suez Canal, they will also get blocked. So don't think that it is only the Strait of Hormuz which is affecting. Strait of Hormuz is obviously the major, artery.
Absolutely.
But in case Houthis block Red Sea, then you are adding more to the concern and more to the, problems that the entire globe is going to face.
Oh, okay, I just want to quickly go across to Mr. Dayal, and I want to talk about the diplomatic balancing that India has done. Yes, India also condemned the attack on Gulf nations. At the same time, our foreign minister is in touch with his counterpart. The fourth conversation happened today. In the last conversation, we spoke about safety of shipping and the energy supplies to India, and we have managed to get a secure route. Is that diplomatic balancing, really working in terms of, yes, calling out the strikes on Gulf nations, at the same time ensuring that our interests are secured?
You're absolutely right. India's policy has been aimed at ensuring that our interests are secure. And these interests are diverse. First of all, we have a large diaspora, over 90 lakhs. And their protection is of great importance. I think by and large, we have done this, given the difficulties of the prevailing circumstances. Secondly, we want to ensure energy supplies. Yes. Energy security is important. And to the extent the circumstances permit, we have been able to ensure that. Now, the conversation that Mr. Jaishankar had with the Iranian foreign minister a couple of days ago was really directed towards ensuring that Indian vessels which were carrying our energy supplies were given permission to go safely through the Strait of Hormuz and they would not be targeted. And the Iranian foreign minister gave this categorical assurance. Of course, the situation is very complex because that region is engulfed in conflict.
Yes.
And Mustafa Khamenei has said that the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed. So there are certain perils.
Right. So as of now, until this point, India has been able to maneuver. It's been able to maneuver as far as the challenge is concerned. Also, the Prime Minister spoke to the Iranian president. And once again, our emphasis is on dialogue and diplomacy. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast with your expert opinion.